Do you own your calendar, or do your tasks and everybody else's calendar own you? Well, in this episode, I'm going to be walking through something I call the integrated week and how to really step into owning the calendar, how to step into having your calendar and your days drive and fuel that passion of yours. So get ready to integrate your week. Hey, this is Trevor, the CEO of Carrot. And over the years, I've been fortunate enough to build 8-figure companies and learn along the way on what I need to do with my week to make the right things happen in the business and life. And I can tell you, there's been so many times throughout my life and out my business where I've done it wrong, where the calendar or other people's calendars just truly owned me. And those weeks are hard, right? Those weeks are not fun. So I've got a question for you. Do you design your week, or do you default to letting your tasks and other people control you? So if you're watching this on YouTube, pop that comment below and let me know, do you design the week, or are other people doing it? If you're listening to this on the podcast, just hit me up on Instagram or just think about it. Oh my gosh, no. This is something I just let my weeks get away from me. I let my days go out of control. I get to the end of my weeks too often and go, oh my gosh, I did so many things this week. I was so busy, but I don't know what I got done. I feel like my energy was drained out of me. And we can all relate to that. It's something that I think is so common with entrepreneurs, but also anybody, no matter if you're an entrepreneur or you work for an entrepreneur, if we're not intentional with how we plan our time and plan our week, that can be the norm. And we want to get us away from that. Over the years, as I went from a solopreneur, making a few $100,000 a year, to an entrepreneur with a team of 50 plus, earning 8 figures a year, I've had to adjust how I integrate my week. And when I talk about an integrated week, I truly am meaning the things you love outside of work are fully integrated with the things that you love inside of work. Okay. You try not to fully separate them too much. In your mind, you go, how do I make this day awesome from start to finish, that gives me energy in the right spots, that drives forward my goal in the right spots, and helps make sure I'm focusing my time and energy where I should be focusing my time and energy. Okay. So a few things that pop up that we start to feel as we're going through life and business. We start to miss and push our biggest priorities. We say that this is important, right? We say fitness is important. We say health is important. We say this business goal is important. But then week after week or month after month, we discover that we're not actually doing those things. So is it really that important? And I think that's a symptom of our calendar owning us versus the other way around. So our biggest priorities get pushed. Another challenge that comes up when we don't own that calendar and truly create an integrated week. And I'm going to be giving you my worksheet of how I craft my integrated week on this call. Then we end up skipping the energy gives. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean to skip your energy gives? One thing that this would have been 2015, and then back in 2012 as well. When I was fully burnt out in 2012, before I made my transition into what became Carrot, one of the fastest growing companies in America, Inc. 5,000 list 5 years in a row, this was going through my mind. I was not enjoying my work almost every single day. I was getting to the end of the work week, like I mentioned before, with low energy, with just wondering where did the time go. I wasn't moving forward my most important things. And it was because I was doing things that I thought was going to drive revenue, but it actually drained my energy. It was stuff that people told me I was good at. Hey, Trevor, when you do these things, you're good at them. Writing copy, sending emails, doing things like that, running the business. You're good at them. I got paid okay for them, but they drained the heck out of me. Okay. And so what I started to flip over to in 2012 is I say, I don't care about the money as much anymore. Like what use is making good money if it drains the living life out of me every single day? And so in 2012, I made a pact for myself. I said, okay, what if I switch it up? What if rather than optimizing for money and money growth, what if I optimize for energy? What if I say, if I put more of the things in my day that give me energy, will that lead to a better life? Will it lead to a higher quality life? And you know what? Will it also lead to maybe growing my business? And so that's what I did. And so when we don't do that, we skip the things that drain our energy, and we put more time into doing more of the busy activity that is already sucking the life out of us. It's this continual spiral that we fall down and leads us to resent our business and leads us to potential burnout. Okay. We constantly fight fires, right? These fires are always popping up. It's always the next thing. It's always a got-a-minute meeting where someone knocks on the door. It's always the next fire that gets in front of us, the urgent thing that we try to handle versus really pulling back and doing the things that are truly important. And we like it. We actually crave it sometimes because it gives us a little jolt of energy in that moment solving that thing. But it's this challenging, silly, veiled, just torpedo in our day where we kind of like it a little bit, but man, that's the very thing that's destroying our day, destroying our week, and potentially destroying our fire for our business. We're constantly fighting those fires. And then once again, the calendar owns us instead of us owning our calendar. When all that happens, y'all, momentum stalls. As entrepreneurs, I'm a big believer that entrepreneurs tend to be the happiest, most joyful when we have positive momentum going. And even if momentum isn't going in the right areas, maybe not in revenue, we need to find areas and create areas where we can create momentum, because that then trickles over into all the other spots where there maybe isn't momentum right now. So momentum's huge. So if momentum starts to stall, that's where things start to go downhill everywhere in your health, your relationships, revenue, the whole thing. So we want to prevent that. Okay. So way back in 2012, I made a transition, and then we ended up starting Carrot in 2014, which grew really, really fast. And in the early days of Carrot, what I really started to do was I went, okay, well, let me try to make my schedule better. I've tried all kinds of different ways to adjust my schedule, to have time blocks, to do this, to do that. And in the first couple of years, I think as an entrepreneur, my schedule was just capturing everyone else's priorities. My schedule was capturing everybody else's things that they wanted me to do. It was a phone call with Johnny. It was a meeting with this team member. It was doing all these things, right? And so it worked up to a point. It worked up to about $300,000 to $500,000 a year. And then I started to realize, I'm like, wow, this isn't working anymore. What got me here won't get me there with my schedule. I need to now step into making sure my schedule is more built so I can have time to do the things I need to do from 300,000 to $1 million. Now, if you're new to this YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, or new to the podcast, we have something called the growth levels here. And you can go find them at my website, trevormauch.com/freedom. That's Trevor, MAUCH.com/freedom. And you're going to see my entire business growth levels from 0 to 30 million. And from 300,000 to $1 million, we need to start to learn how to delegate well. We need to master that. We need to shift from the rugged individualist mindset or identity into a different identity, okay? Into the performer, into truly stepping into performing at an A level at something that drives the business forward. But it's hard to do that if our schedule doesn't allow us to. So I started to carve out time for sales calls, started to carve out time for product, and I would block time on my schedule. And it worked for a little while until it didn't. And then I would start to do all kinds of things. My coach, Craig Ballantyne, said this the other day on a coaching call that we had with our Epic team, or with our Epic program. He said, your calendar starts to look like something where a unicorn barfed a rainbow, and it's just filling your calendar with all these colors. Every single time is blocked out with something, and oftentimes it's not the things that should be there. And that became my calendar for a couple of years. I was really proud of it. I was proud that my calendar had everything, every minute accounted for. And it was all these different colors. There's all this organization, but oftentimes it ended up being the wrong things for that phase of my business. So what I want to kind of promise and walk through, and I'll show you the worksheet, is I want to help you live by design, not by default. Okay. When we live by design, that means we map out what we want. When we live by default, it means whatever the world's throwing at us or whatever we're currently doing right now, we just keep doing it. We keep accepting it. And when we live by default for too long, it can lead to frustration, y'all. It leads to frustration because you're not making progress. When we get frustrated too much, it leads to drifting and stepping into our vices, the things that just can destroy us in those moments. And when we step into those vices too much, that's what leads to failure. And that's where here in the Entrepreneur Freedom Formula, we're here to prevent you from doing that. Next thing is I want to help you protect your time more effectively, really have those guardrails, those boundaries, so you own that calendar and there's rules around how that calendar can use, even rules to prevent you from from hijacking your own calendar. I want to help you get energy every single day, not just some days, and then produce revenue and results to drive that business forward and finally control that darn calendar. It's your life. You get to choose what your days look like. Even if you have a job somewhere, you have influence over what your days look like. Either get a different job or work with your boss to adjust the days so you can still hit your goals but give you energy, or get up earlier. You get to control your day. And I want to make sure that you do that. Okay. So the real model here, the first thing that I think about when I'm thinking about how do I create an integrated week? How do I make sure that my week is dialed in so it's the perfect week? It's the week that is going to give me energy, help produce and drive forward the things that towards my goals, make sure that I'm investing the time with the people that I love the most, and that I'm making sure that I'm staying healthy and vibrant for the future. Okay. I've got something that I call the 6 F's. And so if you're listening to this on the podcast, pull over if you're driving, or just go back to this section tonight or this weekend, and it'll take you 5 minutes to do the 6 F's exercise. If you're watching this on YouTube, pause this with me, and it's going to take you a few minutes. On YouTube, I've got the visual version for you. So get off that podcast, y'all, get over to YouTube, see the full visual version, and to see my actual integrated week worksheet. Okay. So what you're going to do first is on the 6 F's, the 6 F's kind of encompass the major parts of life, the buckets that I see as most important. There's faith, there's family, there's fitness, there's friends, there's finances, and then there's fun. And are there other parts of life that aren't encompassed in the 6 F's? Probably, right? But I pretty much see everything for me wrapping in those. Travel, awesome. That's under fun. That might even be under friends, right? That might even be under family. Everything wraps into those. So I'm going to give myself kind of a grade on each one of these. I do this every single quarter, or when I just feel off, when I'm feeling crappy, when I'm feeling lost, when I'm just feeling I'm not clear what the heck I need to focus on. I'll usually do the 6 F's to kind of get a gauge. Okay. And so let's say we're going through and we're doing a 1 to 5, 1 being it couldn't be any worse in that area, 5 being it couldn't be any better. I want to have you write those out, and I want to have you look at them and say, well, awesome. I'm doing amazing at family. That's a 5 out of 5. I'm going to then go look at my calendar and say, is my calendar part of what got me there? Is it because my calendar does have my family things blocked off first? And how do I make sure that stays there? Or how do I make sure I'm investing even more time in that area? And my calendar needs to reflect it. If my calendar doesn't reflect it, odds are it's going to get sucked up by something else. Okay. Faith, same thing. Go look at my calendar. Am I investing real time, diving in and reading the Bible, or going to church, or going to my community group and things like that? If those aren't on the calendar, they might not get done. And so if I'm a 3 on faith, what do I want to do? Do I want to go through a Bible study? Do I want to join a community group? What do I want to do there? Right. And then map out a basic plan on your priorities, then get it on the calendar, and do that with every single one of the 6 F's. If it's something that is ranked really high and you're doing really well in it, maybe you don't need to change anything, but you might go, okay, how do I make sure the stage is the same? And for me, that's looking at the calendar, making sure the calendar reflects it. Okay. And the ones you want to get better at, prioritize them. Say, I want to get better at this one or this 2, this quarter. Make sure it's on the calendar, block it off. Okay. Once we've kind of laid out the priorities, what we need to do next is we then need to pull up our calendar. And I've got this day-by-day time block planner worksheet that you can see on the YouTube side of the podcast. So go check it out. Just go to YouTube, look me up, Trevor Mauch. That's Mauch, and take a screenshot of it, draw it out, or comment in the YouTube channel below on this video if you want this worksheet. If you want it and I get enough people to comment it, we'll figure out a way to get it to you. So comment below, yes, I want the day-by-day time block planner worksheet. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is, after I go through and do the 6 F's, I've got a decent gauge for what am I doing great at? What do I want to do better at? And I have the intention to then make sure that my calendar reflects those things. You notice I didn't put anything business on my calendar yet. I started with what's important in my life. Okay. My holistic life, not just business. And what ends up happening with us as entrepreneurs is our calendar gets dominated by business, and we try to fit in life. We try to fit in health and fitness. We try to fit in the family things, and we end up having this guilt. We end up having what I call entrepreneurial guilt, where we know that our spouse mentioned Johnny's soccer game. We're picking up Johnny at 3:00 on Thursday, 2 Thursdays from now. We know we had the conversation, but I didn't get it on my calendar. So I scheduled work over the top of it. And now I have a commitment there. And now the day before, I'm talking to my spouse, and she says, hey, you're picking up Johnny tomorrow at 3, right? And I go, yep. Yes. I remember that. I go look at my calendar. I see something blocked right over the top of it. And now you're in this challenge. What do I do? Who am I going to let down? And I'm not going to let my family down in those situations. So I've got to let the business side down. But how do we make sure that that doesn't happen? Well, we get it on the calendar first. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at literally my week as a 7-day week. Okay. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Right. And then I'm going to theme those days. And this is what works best for me. Try it out. If it works great for you, awesome. Let me know in the comments box here on YouTube or hit me up with a message on IG. So I'm going to theme the days first. I'm going to go, okay, let me look at each day and let me look at what's most important. Let me look at my goals in my business, my goals in life. And are there certain days that I want to use for certain things more often than not? And I'll kind of tell you what I do. I went through a coaching program called Strategic Coach with a guy named Dan Sullivan years and years ago. This is 2012. If you don't have a coach to help you through the challenging situations or challenging parts as an entrepreneur, I can guarantee you that you're probably taking longer to get through them. You're probably adding more frustration to the mix than you need to. And hiring coaches is the ultimate insurance policy and ultimate shortcut to get through those pain points, those pain lines of business. Okay. So I went in Dan's program. And one thing that they did was they do buffer days, free days, and focus days. So a buffer day is pretty much like the day that kind of collects all the rando things, right? It's the day that collects some of the random phone calls that you need to do. It's where you prep for your focus days. You go, okay, what do I need to do Wednesday during my focus day? And what are the things I need for that focus time? How do I prepare them now so they're ready for my focus day? So I don't have to torpedo my focus day finding those things and getting ready for it. It's me planning out my calendar, planning out my week, doing some of my meetings, things like that. Okay. A free day is like straight up free. It's with family. I'm not working on free days. Now, I have a caveat to that I've changed over the years that I actually enjoy and works for me is even on Saturday and Sunday, I like to work in the morning, but crazy early in the morning for 30 minutes to 60 minutes on something that gives me energy and is a passion project I want to work on. It could be writing my book. It could be creating content. It could be diving in and thinking of strategy. But I usually, before my family gets up, on Saturday and Sunday mornings, I'll work for 30 to 60 minutes jamming on stuff. It keeps things sharp. It keeps things moving. It keeps momentum going. And it's done by the time before the family even gets up. Okay. So, free days are you're not working at all. You're doing something that you enjoy, that gives you energy, that builds your life. And ideally, you're just not even really doing work. Okay. And then you have focus days where focus days are straight up. I'm focusing, right? I am doing this thing. I'm going to get all the distractions gone. I'm going to drive my most important work together. So what I do today is my Saturdays and Sundays are free days. Okay. So I'm just going to be drawing some things out here in the iPad once again for the YouTube audience, for the podcast audience. Head over to YouTube if you want. Otherwise, I'll kind of paint you a visual picture. So free days, I'm going to mark as a big old green. Okay. I know that Saturday and Sunday are green for me. They're off. They're me not working except for that little block of time that I call my empire building time. Okay. Before my family gets up, and it's to keep the saw sharp as I go. Okay. My buffer days now for me, and they've been like this for a couple of years. It's been working pretty darn good, are Mondays and Fridays. Okay. So buffer days for me are Mondays and Fridays. All right. So I'm going to mark those kind of a yellow. Now there's no real indicator on what yellow, green, red mean or anything like that. It's not good, bad. It's just, they're just different colors. Okay. So I've got my buffer days over here is yellow. So now I go, cool. My buffer days, I'm not really producing much. I'm not really driving forward and producing content or producing products. What I'm doing there is I'm making sure that what I have is being ran, is being maintained. It's when I do my things that might have a lot of switching time, a switching cost that don't require a lot of focus. Okay. And then my focus days today are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, mostly Wednesday and Thursday. But then I theme them. And what worked for me is I theme these. So at the top of this worksheet, you're going to see not only do I have themed days, so you can see I themed Sunday as a free day and Saturday as a free day. I themed Monday and Friday as buffer day. I themed Tuesday as my product focus day. Wednesday is my epic or my coaching program, and my HVAC or the new markets we're moving into with Karen. That's my focus day for that. And then Thursday is content day. So this day right now that I'm recording, this is on a Thursday. I jam out 3 to 4 podcast episodes on what I'm thinking about. I do a live broadcast. I plan marketing, plan content all on my Thursdays. Okay. So I'll just kind of, I'll color those blue. All right. So now I've got my blocks. I can look at the schedule and pretty much one beautiful thing about it is every day is not the same. And that's one thing that I think we fall into traps on as entrepreneurs is everything becomes the same day over and over and over again. And oftentimes for a lot of us, that day becomes a buffer day. Every day becomes a buffer day. Every day is something where we're trying to catch up. We're trying to keep up. Every day has a million meetings. Every day has these things. We need to eliminate that. Okay. So if you look at my calendar now, I've got my free days. I've got my buffer days kind of wrapping around the focus days to prepare and to come out of those focus days. Great. I feel like I can really go crush the week and have good energy. Now, this is something I started about a year and a half ago now. As I would have those themed days, but I would find myself still not handling those days well. I would find myself at the end of even a focus day out of energy because I skipped my workout today. I would find myself having meetings in the morning and it would throw me off for the rest of the day. So I said, okay, now I need to take it one level deeper. Let me now theme the time bands or time blocks within those days so I can now know when I want to put things, work with my team, work with my executive assistant so she knows where to put things, and it starts to kind of create rules around it so I don't sabotage my own day. The first thing I want you to do is I want to challenge you to create something that I call the Empire Day, or the Empire Building time. Okay. Empire building for me is early in the morning. It's, around that 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. or so. It might be 5 to 6. It might be 5 to 6:15. It's just in that time block when you first get up, do the work that's going to drive forward you, the things you're most excited about, the biggest things before the day starts. Empire building. A part of empire building for me is health and fitness. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I've got my workout in the gym with my buddies and my coach. The gym right here in my office. We built a big gym here. And then on the other days, I swim on Tuesdays, and I do some sort of outside workout on Thursdays. Okay. And then over here, I actually mix up my Saturdays a bit. I don't do my workout in the morning on Saturdays. I tend to do that somewhere outside on Saturday and Sunday in the afternoon. Okay. So that's just what works best for me with those. I create those time bands. So now what I need to do is what do I want to do with the rest of my time? I would highly encourage you, if you're over the $1 million mark, you need more focus and thinking time in your schedule. If you're over 10 million a year in revenue and you don't have blocks of focused time where you can just dive deep and think and go for a walk or work on the most important stuff with no meetings ever, then you are holding yourself back. I ran into that challenge because I was staying in the weeds too much for a period of time, and it brought the company into the weeds. Okay. We need to get out of the weeds and see the bigger picture almost on a daily basis. So I've got 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. as focus time. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, no meetings can be set up during those times at all. For me, there's no meetings. Okay. No meetings on those times. Okay. Other than on my buffer day. So my buffers, I have a meeting at 10 a.m. with my CO, and I have a meeting over here on Fridays at around 10 a.m. as well with my EA. And I have a meeting over here at 11:30 with my EA on Mondays as well. Okay, so I really, really protect those focus days with zero meetings at all. Nothing in my schedule happens before 10 a.m. though. No days at all. Nothing, no scheduled meetings, nothing. Helps me get into the day. Then next for me, I have my 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. as kind of flex. Okay, that's something that can flex and move. I'm not really creating tight boundaries around it. I've communicated that with my EA, meaning we can put multiple types of things in these boxes. Meetings could go in there if it's important to. Focus work can go in there, but it's flexible. Okay. I do have a block of time then 1 to 3 p.m. that tends to be where you can schedule meetings for me. Okay. That's a meetings band or a calls band, because what would happen is I would get meetings requested of me at 9 a.m., at 8:30 a.m., at 8:15, right after I dropped my kids off for school, and I would accept them, and it would torpedo the rest of the day. So now I said, nope, I'd prefer if my meetings were between 1 and 3, 1 and 4. Okay. And the cool thing is 90% of my meetings tend to be between those times, except for anything focused on product or things like that. Okay. Flex time 3 to 5, whatever I need to work on there. Oftentimes it's wrapping up a meeting or two, maybe some focus work. And then I've got family time 5 to 7, wind down time 7 to 9 or so, and then bedtime. So this is how I've started to kind of create those boundaries. Then I take this to my EA and say, hey, here is how I want my time to go. Let's work together to make sure that these are built on the calendar, that it's non-negotiable that my empire building time is there, but that my workouts never get scheduled over. It's non-negotiable that I cannot have meetings scheduled in these areas ever. Okay, ever, even if I say to schedule something there. It's non-negotiable that if we want to schedule a meeting, and I've got a time block open over here at 1 to 3 on a Friday or a Monday, and I want to take that meeting, that's kind of the time block to put it into. Okay. It's non-negotiable that I work past 5 o'clock 90% of the time, because that's family time. I get out of here and go hang out with family. It's non-negotiable. Okay. And it's non-negotiable that I don't start winding down my day and shutting off my phone and then don't eat after 8 because I'm in wind down time. Now, does this sound boring? Does this sound like it's too rigid and regimented? I heard a quote years ago, and here's what we'll finish on, is people think that freedom means no restrictions, means no bounds, means no rules. That's what people think freedom means oftentimes. When you try to live a life with no rules, no boundaries, no pre-made decisions, do you truly feel free? Oftentimes we don't, because we end up listless. We end up going out there and taking whatever the world sends back to us. What true freedom is, that I've found, is when we can truly make decisions ahead of time on what's going to set us up for success. And then we decide to create boundaries to enable that success. That gives freedom, because we're already pre-deciding ahead of time. When we can pre-decide, y'all, that's where freedom comes from. It's from pre-decision, from saying, this is where I want to go. This is what's important. This is how I'm going to get there. I'm going to pre-decide that this is what's going to happen. So now I don't have to think about it. That's mental freedom. I don't have to think about it. It's already decided. Okay, I can adjust it, I can change it, but it's pre-decided where I want to go, where it's going to go, and how those days are going to land. Cool thing is, guys, every single day has energy built into it, moving physically. Every single day has empire building built into it. So I can do the things that create art, the things that give me energy. And then I block those different days based on what I want to get done, free, focus, or buffer. And I time band during those days where I want to kind of create some boundaries around the types of things that can happen. So guys, give this a shot. Comment below in the YouTube channel. And on the podcast side of it, you got 90% of the value here. That final 10% is watching and seeing the physical version of this. So head over to YouTube and check it out. Just find me, Trevor Mauch, M-A-U-C-H. Check this one out here, the integrated week. Comment on the video if you want this worksheet. And if enough people comment, let's say we get 10 comments, we'll rustle it up. I'll get the team to get the worksheet out to you guys. All right. Have an amazing rest of the integrated week. Hopefully next week, work on making it more integrated. So you make every single day, every single week, your ideal week more often than not. And if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're enjoying the content I'm putting out on YouTube, all right, guys, hit me with a comment. Like I know people are watching. I love it. I want to see that this is helping you out. Go from 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to 3, 300,000 to a million, a million to 3, 3 to 10, 10 to 30, but doing it in a way that gives you freedom and impact. All right, guys, hit subscribe, follow me over on Instagram, and hit me with a message. So question, how integrated is your week? How good do you feel about your weeks? Let me know.